The past couple of years have been quite rough when it comes to the Star Wars franchise, at least under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership. Mando Season 2, I believe, was a great exception because we had John and Dave really calling the shots on that show and really utilizing Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, and all these beloved characters from the original trilogy making their way into that season as well, getting a little bit of a spotlight in each episode. Now that brings us to exactly what Kathleen Kennedy recently did that really deeply upset the Disney board, and why they are taking action right now as we speak. We're going to be diving into every single detail about this below. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about Kathleen Kennedy, as you all know, this has been an ongoing problem, is that she constantly loves to embrace breaking canon, shifting away from George Lucas's philosophy, and also really just shying away from the official canon and embracing something brand new. Now, that's exactly what she's doing with the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. She even admitted to this, that those two shows are all about shifting away from everything that you know and love about Star Wars and George Lucas, and just stripping that all down and building it from the ground up. That's what those two shows are all about. And that brings us to what she recently did with one of those shows, and how it does involve something very canon-breaking, involving Anakin Skywalker, made, of course, by George and portrayed by Hayden. Of all things, once again, she backstabs George Lucas with this. So let's tap right into the details. Now, we know that Skeleton Crew is going to have a lot of connections to the Mandoverse, since it is a Mandoverse era project, a post-Return of the Jedi era Star Wars series. It's going to have a lot of callbacks in there, but one thing in particular actually breaks canon for Anakin. So, given that Kathleen Kennedy is still having trouble to this day with the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew show, she recently got herself into more trouble with Disney after doing something unauthorized with one of the upcoming shows and to creator George Lucas. Now further, it's described that Kennedy was the one responsible for making a canon-breaking scene that goes against George Lucas, Favreau, and even Filoni. The scene that was filmed for Skeleton Crew is said to be an Order 66 flashback that both Favreau and Filoni specifically instructed and warned Kathleen Kennedy to not move forward with, as it breaks some of the existing canon toward Revenge of the Sith. The Order 66 scene that was filmed is said to involve a short cameo of Anakin Skywalker approaching Sworz Bandim, who is the Padawan that says, "Master Skywalker, there are too many of them, what are we going to do?" The flashback scene to Order 66 is said to completely retcon Anakin's actions toward the Padawan, where he spares his life in the process of going through the Jedi Temple, even though in canon and on screen and even behind the scenes, he died by the hands of Anakin Skywalker. So let me just stop right here for a second. Now, the fate of Bandim was never, ever vague. It was actually imprinted in many forms of canon, books, official comics, and even some of the existing lore that just states that he died. Now, we know that Kathleen Kennedy is all about not caring about lore and canon, and or being completely clueless and forgetting a lot of things about the canon also. So it's a mixture of those things, but I think that this was purposely done. I really do believe that. I don't think that she missed such a big detail like this. Now, here's the thing. It almost comes across like she doesn't want Anakin to do such a thing in the lore, and that she wants to get away from that image in Revenge of the Sith, get away from that darkness, which, this is a movie, you can't mess with a movie that's so beloved by the fans. I don't know why she seems to have such an urge to really break canon material. Now, this is by far, I believe, one of the biggest moments of breaking canon, because it involves Anakin in a flashback during Order 66. We know that this is basically a format now. Each and almost every other Star Wars show is going to feature Order 66 flashbacks, because it's a bigger part to the overall picture here of what's happening. Now, we got little glimmers of this in Book of Boba, and of course in Mando, and now they're doing it again in Mando Season 3, as well as the Ahsoka series. But in Skeleton Crew, this just breaks the rules, because now you're having Anakin sparing Swordsman Deem's life, when we all know that he was, killed by Anakin and met his demise. That's canon, that's real. So, I'm not quite sure what the true attempt is here by Kathleen Kennedy, what her true agenda is, and why she's allowing Anakin to do such a thing. It's either two things. She wants to make things more friendly, and she also wants to humanize this moment during Order 66 for Anakin and sparing his life and changing canon, and not having somebody so young meet their demise in that moment. Or number two, she completely forgot about what really happens in Revenge of the Sith. I think it's all about like a take-your-pick situation right now, because it could really be either or maybe even both combined to a degree. So, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about really realizing that Kathleen Kennedy does not care about canon. It's all about her own agenda, what she wants to do, etc. Now, moving on. Even George Lucas himself had confirmed that this Padawan did not survive, you guys may recall, years ago. Disney realizes how canon-breaking the scene really is, and this is where the good news comes out, by the way, guys, and are now in the process of canceling the scene altogether. However, Hayden did not act in this moment of the flashback, and Kennedy got a double to act inside and rear shots for Anakin actually sparing Swordsman Deem's life during Order 66. The flashback is told through Jude Law's character as a narration. Now, there's something new and very interesting. Now, if it's being narrated by Jude Law's character, and Jude Law is telling the story of Order 66, and something to do with Anakin Skywalker, it really makes you wonder who Jude Law really is. Who is he, right? We know one thing. He's a teacher. That's about it. Now, this does kind of wake you up a little bit and make yourself wonder, was he there during Order 66? Well, that's tricky. He looks a little young to, be in his 40s or so, or 50s maybe at max, to have been maybe a Padawan during Order 66. I'm not quite sure if that would make much sense at all, obviously, and it really makes you wonder, how would he know about what Anakin did during Order 66? It's either that he has, secondhand information about that, or something similar. So, it's probably that. Now, when you look at everything related to Kennedy, this was her latest attempt. I don't believe it's going to stay in Skeleton Crew, to be honest. I don't believe that we're going to see this, thankfully. But Kennedy is really just relentless, and Disney chimed in, they took action, they're working on canceling the scene altogether, and they know that this scene cost a lot of money, but they did not know about the specifics of how canon-breaking it really was. So, it's unfortunate, but it is actually a thing that Kennedy always likes to do. So, overall, guys, fill me in below what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.